What's up, everyone? All right, well, when I recorded the recap, I was up $6,000, which was pretty respectable. A nice green day. About $8,000 on my biggest winner, and then $3,600 red on my biggest loser. So, yeah, you know, and a couple trades in between. $6,000 is a good day. And then BKYI squeezed up over $1.50. It broke $1.55 and got halted at $1.63. I jumped into it right after I finished my recap. And let me show you where I sit right now. So as of right now, I am up $10,650. BKYI was an awesome trade. It is halted right now, coming back down, but this is the chart. It squeezed from $1.50 all the way up to $2.30. And that was it, hitting the high day momentum scanner. Wow, what a day. I was not expecting that. I really wasn't. So now, what was initially a $6,000 day is now a $10,000 green day. You guys are gonna watch the recap from when I was up $6,000. The $10,000, the extra $4,000 I made on BKYI, it was a pretty simple setup. It was buying the pullback. So basically what happened was yesterday, AYTU, very similar pattern. AYTU around the same price, broke over $1.50 and squeezed all the way to $3. So when I saw BKYI during the recap, I said, I still think this has potential. I'm gonna keep it on watch. And so I kept it on watch. And just after I ended the recap, it squeezed back up to $1.50. At $1.50, there was a 40,000 share seller, and there was about 30 seconds left on the current 5-minute candle. The high of that 5-minute candle was $1.50. I wanted to wait for that candle to close, buy the next candle, which would have been the first candle to make a new high. It broke 150 and squeezed up to 155. And now we were at a flat top with the prior resistance, which was around 154. So as it broke, I jumped in right there. And it squeezed up. So I was in with 15,000 shares at 155. Of course, this is a lower price stock. I felt comfortable taking that trade. It's then halted at 163. It resumes. It squeezes up to 170, 175, 178, 180, 185, and then all of a sudden it drops to 170. That's a big drop, and I was a little nervous. So I ended up selling all but 1,700 shares at about 175 and 178. Then it curls back up and squeezes up to $2. I got back in and rode that momentum from 2 up to 225. Hit a high of about 228. I did well on it. I could have done better, but at the same time, I can't be a, gunslinger right now. I can't be swinging for home runs. If I'd held that full 17,000 shares and just said, I'm not selling it unless it hits $2.50, then right now I would still be holding it in a halt, coming back down, and there's a good chance that I'd end up stopping out for a very small win. So I took profit off the table as the stock squeezed up. Maybe I took a little off too soon, and maybe if we see a setup just like this tomorrow, I'll have the conviction to hold a little longer. But you know what? What was originally a $6,000 green day is now a $10,000 green day, and this feels like I'm back in the saddle. So this brought me strength. I knew it was red, and so I counteracted it with a little of this. Big green day. Yes. I'll see you guys first thing tomorrow morning. All right, everyone. So we're gonna do our midday market recap here, go over the trades from this morning. A nice green day, up $6,230.52. I was up a little bit more than that. I have $8,000 of profit on TLSA. At my very best today, I was up around $7,200. So I'm down about 1,000 off the highs, but I actually gave back I was up only 4,000 and then worked my way back up with a couple of nice trades on CODX, INO, and KBSF. So it was not the easiest morning that I've ever had, which kind of continues to be the theme of this week, just with the markets being super volatile. As day traders, we love volatility. Having said that, when there are so many stocks all moving at the same time, it can be hard to find out or figure out which one is the obvious setup. So, and I also took one trade in my TD Ameritrade account for $358 of profit. I will do a separate recap specific to the TD Ameritrade small account side hustle challenge. So I'll just put that down there for now. All right, so leading gapper this morning, BKYI. That's the stock that I traded right out of the gates, and in my, well, I don't really want to recap the TD Ameritrade account too much, but this is the trade that I took out of the gates. I jumped in long at 39. So as it started to squeeze up, I jumped in at $1.39. It squeezed up to the halt at 156, opened, hit a high of 170 before pulling back. I sold a little bit going into the halt and the rest outside coming out of the halt. So that was my first trade right out of the gates. I also traded it in my big account and lost 600. That trade was right here as it was curling up. And I thought that if it broke over a 160, that we would squeeze back to the highs, kind of like AYTU did yesterday. So I thought it was worth a shot. So AYTU kind of like this yesterday, then broke through the VWAP. Now it did it yesterday later in the day. So there is still hope for BKYI, but for right now, I'm going to leave it alone, and you know, I'm not going to be around for the rest of the day. So if it ends up doing that breakout in the afternoon, I'll miss it. So I lost 600 in my main account on that one. But the second leading gapper was TLSA. Now this one I was actually a little hesitant on out of the gates because if we go back here, you can see that this had this kind of bigger pullback. And I thought, you know, that's really not a very pretty pre-market chart. And so instead, I was focusing on PHIO, this one right here. This one pre-market had a little bit of a better chart. It had sold off a little bit, but I really liked the daily chart. So the daily chart had a gap here from 342 all the way up to a high of 667. And so that was the one that I traded right out of the gates. In fact, I only made about $800 on it on my first trade. It wasn't a home run. Let's see, let me get this to when the bell rang. All right, zoom in here. So first trade right out of the gates, we had this break here, 1 minute opening range breakout. I went long, it didn't hold that level, came back down. I still made money because I sold quickly. And this squeezed from 350 all the way up to well, I guess, let's see, this was a high of 343 and this was a high of 360. So a small trade, but with 10,000 shares, a small dollar per share trade. And then I got back in right here and this failed and I stopped out. So those were my two trades on PHIO. And then I switched over to TLSA. So this one, I jumped in right here. Once it was showing strength, I was like, okay, this looks good. Jumped in right there, and we got a squeeze from 560 all the way up to 745. Almost $2 per share. A really nice move. Consolidation, consolidation, and then I got back in right here with 8,000 shares, right down here. It popped up, it dropped down, and I was like, for a second, I was like, you know, this is unbelievable. But it came back up, and then I added for the break of 7, and we got that breakout right there. That's what I expected to happen on this candle right here. And I almost couldn't afford to hold through the bottom of that drop, but I did, and it popped back up, and then I added for the break of 7. We got a squeeze here up to 770, and then a pull back down to 656, and then a fade from there. One of the challenges today were these types of false breakouts. This false breakout went from 710 to $6 in one candle. You'll see I'm down 3,500 on AIM, AIM, I lost that on this false breakout of 5 right here. So I added at 495 for the break of 5, and then in the next candle, it dropped to 440. I took 8,000 shares of that as well. It popped back up right here, and I stopped out for a loss. And then I got back in right here, and it failed again. I mean, you can see it popped up to 15, dropped to 485, popped up to 520, dropped down to 486. So that was not a good trade. It was very frustrating. And my last trade on it was actually right here, the break of 520 up to a high of 525. On that one, I actually sold at 24 and made 4 cents per share of profit. So unfortunately, that was my worst trade of the day. AHPI was my second worst trade of the day, and that was right here. So I got in this right here. And this was a fine pullback setup, no doubt about it. It popped up to 78. I didn't sell. I thought it was going to break 12. And then in this candle, it drops down to 1075. I lost 1,500 bucks just like that. So that was not fun. And the reason I took that trade was because CODX was so strong. CODX and AHPI and APT and INO, these are all coronavirus stocks. So they all do something related to the coronavirus. So anyways, CODX ended up being a pretty nice trade. We had first this really nice break of 975 for a squeeze up through 10, then a pullback, and another break of 1075 for a squeeze up through 11. Another pullback, another breakout over 1150 for a squeeze up to 1250. I took several trades on it. One of them I accidentally took 8,000 shares. It was not my intention. And as soon as I was up 10 cents, I was like, I've got to start scaling out because I've got way too much size on this. This is a stock that, well, interestingly enough, I would say has the risk of dropping $1, 50 cents or $1 a share. Although in fact, this one, even though it's $12, didn't have drops as dramatic as AIM or TLSA. Those two were both much more dramatic in their whips. And then we have KBSF. Oh my gosh, look at this. So I didn't jump in this as it was squeezing up. I said, you know what? I am leaving it alone. And it goes from 190, 215, 220, 225, 230, 240, all the way up to 257. And then in these 3 candles, it drops down to 187. But it came back through the highs. And on this pullback right here, I went long, right there. And I sold as it squeezed up. I actually added in the 290s for the break of 3. It didn't break 3, and so I stopped out when it came back down. But I'm still up 400 on it. So, and then we've got INO, which was a nice, clean 5-minute setup with an entry. Right, so this was the pattern right here like this. The breakout I bought on this pullback right here at 79. It squeezed up to a high, as you can see, of 840, just about 840, 837. So some really nice, clean trades today in terms of good quality entries. And that's been my goal this week, to take really good quality trades. I've had a few that were a little aggressive. AHPI, I took 3,000 shares of. That was probably too aggressive, given the spreads being as big as they were. AIM, I mean, I thought that was pretty reasonable share size, and I just ended up not expecting it to drop 60 cents in one candle. And TLSA, you know, similarly, I just ended up being on the right side of this trade, with the exception of the one drop right here, that false breakout, where I, for a moment, was down a full $8,000 before it popped back up. So I felt today that I would have been better off again stopping at like 9:45, only because I did risk giving back my entire $8,000 of profit. And I would have been really, really frustrated. I would have been, you know, I mean, obviously, to make 8,000 and then give the whole thing back, I would have been really frustrated. I'm even a little frustrated that I'm up only 6,200, but try to keep things in perspective. KBSF, nice, 304, 310. But watch this, 298 on the bid, 3 on the bid. So is this going to be a false breakout? That's 98 red orders going through. There's 3, but I'm seeing, okay, a little bit of green there. 98 by 3. So it's kind of hesitating here. If I looked at a 10-second chart, I'd be able to see that hesitation more clearly. 310 would also be what I would consider to be an entry. There you go. There's 310 for a second, 323, and then sales going through at 302. So that creates that false breakout where it pops up and pulls back. The high now is 323, but it only tapped that level as the spreads open up. So of course at this time of day, coming up to 11:30, the volume is generally going to be less in the market. Although on KBSF, it's actually almost matched with the high of this last move up. And this 5-minute candle still has almost 90 seconds left on it. So it may even be higher volume. But difficult to trade because at the bottom of these steep pullbacks, it doesn't feel like it's safe to get in at such a sharp rejection. And then, of course, at the top, it's extended. So I don't know. Kind of a wild day today, but in any case, green is great. 4th green day in a row, and I'm kind of making some progress, digging my way out of the hole. It felt today when I was up 8,000 on TLSA that this was going to be a big green day. It kind of felt that way on Monday when I started and made 2,300 in my first trade, and it kind of felt that way yesterday when I made $4,000 on my first trade. And then each of these 3 days, as the day has gone on, I've started to give back profit. And I've had some unexpected losses and some choppiness. So maybe this is a better market to just do kind of the hit and run trade of get that profit, 9:30 to 10 a.m. and then hit the road. Of course, if I had left at 10 a.m., I would have been up probably only about $4,000 because I had already taken these 2 losses. So maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure. But in any case, I'm happy to be green today and live to trade another day. I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. The market's down 1,000 points right now. I'm up $6,000. So I can definitely feel good about that. You want to learn more about trading? Check out some of the links in my description. And if you have questions, ask them in the comments. I personally respond to every question posted on my channel. And don't forget to subscribe.